This is how you find resources to learn a language. Step number 1, find people. People are going to be your best resource for learning a language, not only for practicing, but also to introduce you to places where your target language is commonly used. For example, I'm learning Swahili. Very few people are learning Swahili, so I posted on Reddit. I just made a post that was like, hey guys, I want to learn Swahili, can anybody help me? And luckily enough, I found somebody. Now on Reddit, I recommend either finding a subreddit specifically for your target language or posting a general message on r/language learning if your target language is too small. And by too small, I mean doesn't have a subreddit. Another resource that's been helping me learn Swahili is Discord. I literally just searched up Swahili Discord server and clicked on the first thing I found, and luckily enough, it was a server specifically designed for people who want to learn Swahili. Of course, if you don't like the Discord server you're in, you can just leave it and go down to the next link on Google or whatever and try a different server. And if you still aren't finding any Discord server that you like, you can modify your search accordingly. Discord servers are especially nice because it's very easy to interact one-on-one with people. That way you can find resources that are crafted particularly for your needs. For example, through Discord, I was able to ask people, do you have any good resources for learning how to expand your vocabulary for beginners? And I ended up finding a website that is only children's books in Swahili, which was perfect for my needs. Along with this, I also got an introductory grammar book because I wanted to know the basics of grammar in the language. So I was also directed to that resource through the very kind people in that server. Step number 2, find media. Lately in my Swahili journey, I've been searching for podcasts. I literally have just been going and typing Swahili podcast and trying to find a podcast in Swahili. Unfortunately, this is kind of difficult, so I modified my search and I just typed in words in Swahili and put podcast after it. For example, I could put like Kucheza podcast or Kuishi kwa Tanzania podcast or whatever. And actually, just recently, I found out that BBC produces news in a variety of different languages. So, if your language is more popular than Sinhala, spoken in Sri Lanka, which has around 16 million speakers, then there's a good chance that your language will be on BBC too. Secondly, it may be worth it to see if Netflix offers any shows or movies in your target language, because I know they do that. Or you could take a different route and find popular films that are made in your target language and not download them illegally, but instead purchase them legally through an institution that has the rights to the movie or show. Step number 3, find apps. It is really easy to figure out if a particular app you want to use has your target language. You can just go to the website and usually they have a list of languages that they offer. You can do a quick Google search or ask ChatGPT to give you some language learning apps that might be good for you. Also, I may do a tier list or something in the future of language learning apps, so be on the lookout for that. And keep in mind, paid courses can be useful, but you can also find free resources that can be just as effective if you put in the proper time and effort. However, if you feel that these free resources aren't meeting your needs, then investing in a paid course or app could be worthwhile for you. Me, personally, I recommend using Duolingo just for daily exposure to the language, and I also recommend using Tandem. If you don't know what Tandem is a language exchange app, and you can just type in the languages that you're fluent in, that you could teach to others, and languages that you want to learn, or your target language, and then it pairs you with people who have the opposite settings as you. They have the language that they want to learn as your native language, and they have the language that you want to learn as their native language. It's completely free, and there are many, many different languages you can search for, because if you have people who natively speak the language and are on the app, then that language will be on the app. It has ancient Greek as a language, so most likely you're going to find somebody who speaks your target language. I've been using it for the last 2 months to practice my Swahili, and through this app, I've gained a lot of knowledge on both the culture of where Swahili is spoken, near Tanzania and Kenya mostly, and also I've learned a lot about the language. And it's super impressive to me because it is very, very difficult to find people who speak Swahili. So using this app makes it a breeze. Google Translate is an app that you can use to improve your vocabulary. It does have many, 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 many different languages, but also it isn't the most reliable, so just be mindful of that when you're using it. With Google Translate, I recommend using very simple and concrete words and phrases to practice, such as like the word day or the verb to learn or numbers, those sorts of things. ChatGPT basically speaks every language known to man, essentially. So you can use ChatGPT to practice your listening, your vocabulary, and your conversation skills. You can have a conversation with ChatGPT just fine, and there's an option that allows you to listen to ChatGPT read the message out loud. This will help you with your listening. Further, you can use it to create short stories to help bolster your vocabulary in the language. And this is particularly useful with ChatGPT because you can focus on a particular genre when you create short stories. So if you want to learn more about working out, you can ask for a short story about working out. If you want to learn more about cooking, etc., etc., etc. Step number 4, find a college course. You can see if the college offers the language of your choice, and you can just sit in for free. You don't have to pay for it. There's nothing wrong with that. And the reason that there's nothing wrong with it is because you won't get graded on anything and you won't receive any certification that you did the course. But it is a good way to expose yourself to the language and also use those resources, those people, to find more different, better resources. And if you do want it to count for grades or certifications, then I recommend actually enrolling in it. And if your college doesn't offer it, you can go to a college online. They will most likely have something that you can take. If you're looking for a more affordable and more personalized option, I recommend italki. This is a website that connects you with tutors for one-on-one sessions learning your target language. They do cost money, but in my opinion, I think it's a cheaper and more effective option than formal education because it's one-on-one, which leads to a more personalized lesson plan and more personalized adjustments that you can make for yourself. Step number 5, make friends. If you find somebody who speaks your target language, then you're sitting pretty. Bonus points if you like them. Because if you enjoy talking to them, then you will be more motivated to interact with them and more motivated and more likely to speak your target language with them. However, I want to warn you that it is worth it to make more than one friend who speaks your target language because this will allow you to be more well-rounded in the language that you're learning. If you don't do this, you will only be used to the way that they speak. So when you talk to somebody else, either with a different cadence, different vocabulary, or a different regional accent, then it's going to be much trickier for you to understand and for them to understand you. At least that's my experience with it. I had one friend who I spoke with a ton for like 3 months, and he was from Rio, which has a very strong, very prominent accent. So about 3 months ago when I started talking with other people from different areas of Brazil, there was a learning curve, is what I'm going to say. Because I would talk to people from like the south of Brazil, and their accent would be completely different, and it would take me a bit to adjust to their accent. And just to show you how different the accents are, people in southern Brazil conjugate verbs differently. It's still Portuguese, they just conjugate verbs differently, which is super weird. But yeah, that's the extent of the differences, and if you don't practice with people from different areas, then it's going to be really hard to understand. Also, I was at a concert and somebody was performing and I heard Portuguese music, and I talked to him and they ended up being from Mozambique. Could not understand a thing he said. No, I could understand what he said, but it was very, very difficult. I gotta start practicing speaking Portuguese with people from Portugal, Mozambique, Cape Verde, you know, the different places other than Brazil, because it was tough trying to understand them. Anyways, rant over. By interacting with multiple people, you'll expose yourself to different accents, vocabularies, cultural experiences, and this will make you a more confident and versatile speaker. Step number 6, don't give up. It's really easy to give up, especially when things aren't going your way. Do not let limited resources discourage you. No matter how obscure your language is, somebody out there wants to speak it with you. You just gotta find them.